The massive sensor array hummed softly in the darkness of deep space, its delicate instruments scanning endless stretches of cosmic emptiness. Eun-ji sat quietly at her monitoring station, her fingers hovering just above the holographic controls. She was young, barely 23 standard galactic cycles, but already considered one of the most promising sensor technicians in the galactic exploration fleet. Something flickered on her screen. A tiny blip. Most technicians would have ignored it, but Eun-ji's trained eyes caught the unusual signature immediately. She zoomed in, her breath catching in her throat. The object was massive. Its silhouette didn't match any known vessel configuration in their extensive database. Metallic hull readings suggested advanced alloy compositions that shouldn't exist. Movement patterns indicated technological capabilities far beyond current galactic standards. Her hand trembled slightly as she adjusted the scanning resolution. The vessel moved with an almost predatory grace, smooth, calculated, utterly confident in its trajectory. No standard communication frequencies were broadcasting. No standard navigation beacons were active. Legends whispered through her people's history spoke of humans, a species supposedly eliminated centuries ago during the Great Purge. Advanced. Dangerous. Unpredictable. But those were just stories told to junior cadets to teach caution and respect for technological superiority. This vessel looked exactly like those ancient records. Eun-ji's training kicked in. She began recording every microscopic detail. Spectral analysis. Radiation emissions. Hull composition. Propulsion signatures. Each scan revealed something more extraordinary than the last. The ship wasn't just advanced. It was revolutionary. Her communication console remained silent. No standard hailing protocols were being used. No diplomatic channels were open. The vessel simply existed, a massive, dark shadow cutting through the cosmic darkness like a knife. Several senior technicians noticed her intense concentration. They gathered around her station, watching the mysterious readings with growing unease. Something extraordinary was happening, and Eun-ji was at the center of it. "Identify vessel," her supervisor demanded, his voice tight with tension. Eun-ji could only shake her head. "Unknown," she whispered. "But, it looks human." The word human hung in the air like a dangerous prophecy. Humans were supposed to be extinct. Eliminated. A cautionary tale of technological ambition and cosmic warfare. Yet here was proof that something had survived. Her scanning algorithms ran multiple cross-references. Each comparison returned the same impossible result: human. Technological. Advanced beyond comprehension. The vessel continued its steady approach, completely unbothered by the alien detection systems surrounding it. No evasive maneuvers. No defensive postures. Just pure, calculated movement that suggested absolute confidence. Eun-ji realized she was witnessing something historic. A moment that would potentially rewrite everything her civilization understood about cosmic history. Her hands moved across the controls, documenting every single detail. Her supervisor leaned closer. "Are you certain about these readings?" "Absolutely," she responded, her voice steady despite the excitement racing through her body. The mysterious vessel continued its journey, indifferent to the growing tension surrounding its detection. It was a harbinger of something massive. Something that would change everything. Humans were back. And they looked nothing like anyone had imagined. As the massive ship continued its approach, Eun-ji knew one thing with absolute certainty: nothing would ever be the same again. The cosmic darkness seemed to part around the vessel, revealing glimpses of technological marvel that defied current understanding. A silent promise of something extraordinary was about to unfold. And she was the first to see it. The archives were old. Dusty digital records that most considered forgotten memories. But not Eun-ji. She understood that history held secrets, especially when those secrets involved humans. Centuries ago, the Galactic Confederation had been different. Powerful. Arrogant. They believed no single species could challenge their collective might. Humans proved them wrong. The first encounters were peaceful. Humans arrived in simple exploration vessels, curious about the universe. They shared technology, learned quickly, and adapted faster than any known species. Other civilizations saw their potential and became worried. Technological advancement wasn't just a skill for humans, it was breathing. While other species took generations to develop basic interstellar technology, humans created revolutionary systems in decades. They understood complex mathematical principles that seemed like magic to others. Their weapons were unlike anything seen before. Not massive or complicated, but efficient. Precise. Calculated. A human ship half the size of standard military vessels could neutralize entire fleets with computational strategies that seemed impossible. The Confederation grew scared. Fear transformed into a systematic plan of elimination. The Great Purge began quietly. First, diplomatic relations were cut. Then, strategic blockades prevented human expansion. Multiple alien civilizations collaborated, believing they were protecting the galaxy from potential human dominance. But humans didn't just surrender. They fought with a determination that shocked everyone. Small human colonies transformed into fortified strongholds. Each attack made them stronger, more resilient. They developed shield technologies that could absorb and redirect energy weapons. They created communication systems that could penetrate any jamming frequency. Battles became legendary. Not because of massive destructions, but because of human strategic brilliance. One human commander could outmaneuver entire alien battle groups using nothing more than mathematical predictions and psychological warfare. The Confederation believed they had won. Massive coordinated attacks destroyed human colonies. Entire planetary systems were rendered uninhabitable. The last known human settlements were bombed into cosmic dust. Or so they thought. Unji's fingers traced the fragmented records. Something didn't make sense. The final reports were too clean. Too perfect. Experienced researchers knew that total elimination was nearly impossible, especially for a species like humans. She zoomed into old battle recordings. Tiny details emerged. Escape pods. Hidden communication bursts. Subtle technological markers that suggested survival strategies. Humans had prepared. Even during their apparent destruction, they were planning. The record showed something else, a pattern of technological breadcrumbs. Small innovations that seemed random but were actually carefully designed. As if humans were leaving messages. Hints. Preparations for a future return. No alien civilization had noticed these subtle signs. They were too busy celebrating their supposed victory. But Unji saw them. Small technological signatures. Encrypted data fragments. Communication protocols that could survive decades of cosmic radiation. Survival wasn't just a possibility for humans, it was a guaranteed strategy. Her supervisor would call her imagination wild. Most researchers would dismiss her observations as young enthusiasm. But Unji knew she was seeing something extraordinary. Humans weren't just a species. They were a concept. An idea of survival that transcended traditional biological limitations. The mysterious vessel detected earlier wasn't just a ship. It was a message. A statement. Proof that something had survived the Great Purge. Something was coming. Something that would remind the galaxy why humans were once feared. Not through violence. Not through destruction. But through an intellect that could reshape entire cosmic understanding. Unji saved her research. Carefully. Methodically. Knowing that someday, someone would understand the significance of these historical shadows. The humans were returning. And the galaxy had no idea what was coming. The alien command deck fell silent when the human vessel approached. No standard protocols. No traditional communication channels. Just pure, calculated movement that suggested absolute technological superiority. Sungmin, the fleet admiral, watched the holographic displays with growing tension. His experienced hands gripped the command console, knuckles turning white. Decades of military training hadn't prepared him for this moment. The human ship moved like a predator. Smooth. Precise. Completely unconcerned with the dozen alien warships surrounding it. Weapon systems were powered but not aggressive. A subtle demonstration of potential rather than threat. Alien sensor teams worked frantically. Multiple scanning frequencies probed the mysterious vessel, but it remained frustratingly enigmatic. Its hull absorbed and deflected standard scanning technologies as if they were nothing more than gentle breezes. "Attempt communication," Sungmin ordered, his voice tight with controlled anxiety. Junior communication officers tried every known frequency. Standard diplomatic channels. Emergency protocols. Mathematical signal patterns. Nothing worked. The human vessel continued its approach, seemingly amused by their efforts. Technological readings were impossible to comprehend. Shield systems that could absorb entire energy weapon barrages. Propulsion mechanisms that defied current scientific understanding. Computing capabilities that made alien supercomputers look like children's calculators. This wasn't just a ship. This was a statement. Junior analysts whispered among themselves. Legends of human technological prowess were becoming reality. Stories told by grandparents suddenly felt like documented history rather than mythical tales. The human vessel's smooth exterior reflected starlight, giving it an almost living quality. No visible weapon ports. No traditional military markings. Just pure, elegant design that suggested function over unnecessary complexity. Sungmin realized something profound: they weren't being threatened. They were being studied. Like scientists observing a primitive species, the human vessel maintained a careful distance. Close enough to demonstrate presence. Far enough to remain untouchable. Communication attempts continued failing. But data was still being exchanged. Subtle technological handshakes that most sensor teams missed. Tiny information packets that suggested the humans were learning everything about the alien fleet without revealing anything about themselves. One young sensor technician noticed something strange. The human vessel was actually adjusting its technological emissions to match alien scanning frequencies. Not to hide, but to demonstrate an ability to understand and adapt instantaneously. "They're playing with us," she whispered. Sungmin understood. This wasn't a traditional first contact scenario. This was a demonstration of technological supremacy. Humans weren't asking for permission or seeking diplomatic relations. They were announcing their return. Hours passed. The alien fleet remained in defensive formation. The human vessel remained calm. Waiting. Observing. No weapons fired. No threats made. Just pure, calculated presence. Suddenly, a single data transmission burst through all communication systems. Not a message. Not a warning. Just a simple technological pulse that carried more information than thousands of diplomatic conversations. The message was clear: humans had survived. Humans were back. And the galaxy would adapt. Sungmin watched the holographic display, understanding that everything was about to change. The mysterious vessel wasn't just a ship. It was the first wave of a civilization that had been quietly preparing, learning, and waiting. Waiting for the right moment to remind everyone why they were once feared. The human ship continued its approach, indifferent to the growing tension. A silent promise of something extraordinary was unfolding. And nobody was ready for what was coming. The communication systems erupted without warning. No traditional startup sequences. No gradual signal buildup. Just an instantaneous data burst that overwhelmed every alien network. Commander Jaewa's voice was calm. Clinical. Utterly detached from the massive technological invasion happening across alien communication arrays. "We survived," the transmission began. Simple words that carried centuries of hidden meaning. Alien technicians scrambled. Filtering systems crashed. Quantum encryption protocols shattered like fragile glass against the transmission's computational power. What should have taken weeks to penetrate took mere milliseconds. The message wasn't just audio. It was a complete technological package. Historical records, technological schematics, survival strategies. Decades of human preparation compressed into a single transmission that rewrote everything known about interstellar communication. Fragments of information revealed shocking details. Human colonies hadn't been destroyed. They'd been hidden. Scattered across uncharted regions of space. Developing. Preparing. Waiting. Technological innovations that would have taken alien civilizations thousands of years appeared in rapid succession. Medical advancements that could resurrect dying organisms. Energy generation systems that could power entire planetary networks. Computing algorithms that could predict complex cosmic events with terrifying accuracy. The transmission wasn't a negotiation. It wasn't a request. It was a notification. We remembered, HFY continued. His voice carried no emotion. No anger. No revenge. Just a statement of cosmic inevitability. Alien leadership watched in stunned silence. Their most sophisticated defense systems had been rendered completely useless in seconds. The human transmission wasn't just breaking through, it was systematically analyzing and understanding every single defensive protocol. Deeper layers of the transmission revealed something more profound. Humans hadn't just survived. They had evolved. Technological adaptation wasn't just a skill, it was now part of their fundamental existence. Genetic modifications allowed human bodies to survive in environments that would kill other species instantly. Neural interfaces connected human consciousness with advanced computing systems in ways that blurred the line between biological and technological existence. The message carried an underlying promise: humans weren't seeking conflict. But they were prepared for anything. Quantum data packets continued streaming. Each fragment revealed another layer of human preparation. Underground colonies. Advanced spacecraft hidden in asteroid fields. Technological innovations that made current galactic standards look primitive. Commander HFY's final words cut through the technological chaos with surgical precision. We are returning. No demands. No threats. Just a simple statement that carried the weight of centuries of survival and preparation. The transmission lasted less than 3 minutes. But it changed everything. Alien communication networks continued processing the massive data dump. Researchers would spend decades analyzing the single transmission. Each review would reveal new layers of complexity. The human vessel remained stationary. No additional communication. No further explanations. Just a silent presence that suggested complete confidence. They had said what needed to be said. The galaxy would adapt. Or it would be left behind. HFY watched the alien fleet through his ship's advanced sensors. Their confusion was expected. Their fear was predictable. Humans had always been misunderstood. But not anymore. The transmission ended. But its implications were just beginning. Humanity had returned. And nothing would ever be the same again. HFY's hands shook as she reviewed the transmission data. The Intelligence Analysis Department was in complete chaos. Decades of established galactic understanding were collapsing in real time. The human return wasn't an invasion. It was a restructuring. Within hours, communication networks across multiple alien civilizations began to change. The human transmission contained technological upgrades that solved problems civilizations had struggled with for centuries. Energy generation systems. Medical technologies. Communication protocols. It was a gift. And a warning. Alien leadership conferences erupted into panic. Some wanted defensive preparations. Others recognized the futility of resistance. The humans hadn't just survived, they had fundamentally transformed themselves during their hidden years. Boonji watched the global reaction from her monitoring station. She understood something profound was happening. This wasn't a military conquest. This was a cosmic reset. Human technological packages began spreading. Not through force, but through systematic, intelligent distribution. Each civilization received exactly what they needed: medical technologies for health-struggling species, energy solutions for resource-poor planets, communication upgrades for isolated colonies. The message was clear: humans weren't conquerors. They were problem solvers. Genetic modifications introduced through the transmission began showing miraculous results. Species with chronic genetic diseases suddenly found themselves with repair mechanisms. Planetary ecosystems received environmental stabilization technologies. Commander Jawa's vessel remained a silent observer. No additional communication. No further explanations needed. The transmission had said everything necessary. Global economic systems began restructuring. Traditional power dynamics collapsed. Species that had once dominated galactic politics found themselves suddenly obsolete. Human technologies made previous technological achievements look primitive. Research centers worked frantically, trying to understand the transmitted data. But each analysis revealed more questions than answers. The humans had prepared their return with mathematical precision. Survival wasn't just a human characteristic anymore. It was an art form. Diplomatic channels attempted communication, but the humans remained selectively responsive. They would engage when necessary, but they weren't seeking approval or permission. Haiwan realized they were witnessing a pivotal moment in cosmic history. Humans weren't just returning. They were rebuilding. Redesigning. Reimagining. The vessel that started everything continued its silent journey. A reminder. A promise. A new beginning. Alien civilizations would adapt. Or they would be left behind. Humanity had returned. Quietly. Confidently. Inevitably. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The consequences were just beginning.